and succulent growers, it's Lynn, and in today's video I'm going to be talking to you about the 5 things I wish I knew before growing cacti. Now, number 1 will be how big they can get. And when I first got into cacti, I was 12 years old and I started collecting lots of different types, and I had a very particular love for the sort of tall, serious growing ones. When I got them, many of them were sort of this height, such as this clyster cactus here, sort of perfect for the windowsill. But over time, they can get very, very, very tall and large, such as this Pachycereus pringli and this very tall Trichocereus Pachynoiscopolycola. They can grow very massive. And this was something I wasn't prepared for, because I started going crazy as a teenager buying lots of cactus plants, and my poor mother and father had them all over the windowsills because I soon filled up my bedroom window and I had to have more space, so all of their windows were full of plants, and some of them did grow very large indeed. And talking about Clyster Cactus straussii, this is one here that I've had for a few years. And it was sort of quite small when I got it. It's grown quite tall already, but I'm going to show you one that I've had for about 15 years, and I got it, it was probably about this size, and you ought to see the size of it now. Now, this is an example. This is one I've had for a good few years, and it is about 5 feet high. It's as tall as me. So if you want to get cacti for your windowsill, or you live in a small apartment, or you don't have a lot of space at all, then bearing in mind, before you go buying all different types of cacti, do check how big they can get, and do a bit of knowledge about the cacti that you're going to be or want to grow beforehand. This is another example here. Now, this one is a Pachycereus also, and look at the height of it, a Pachycereus marginatus, and often known as the Mexican fence post. And you'll just see this is about well over 5 feet high as well, and it's very fast growing. I mean, I bought this probably about 10 years ago. It was that height, and it has literally grown and grown and grown and grown and grown, as all of these tall serious cactus plants. So do bear in mind, when you start to get cacti, do make a note that they can grow very tall. Have you got the space for them? And I wasn't really prepared for that when I first started growing cacti. Not a problem now, because I do have the space. I have a couple of greenhouses, and you know, here this greenhouse and the big polytunnel, so I have the space for them. But if you've only got one little windowsill, then I would certainly be prepared that the cacti you're growing can grow very large. Another example, this is a Pharaoh cactus here, multi-headed one. This is probably about 27 years old, and it was sort of a small pup when I got it. That's grown large. Obviously 27 years is a long time, but time does fly. So do check out the type of cactus that you want to grow beforehand, and make sure that you're going to have enough space to give your plant. Number 2 will be not to repot into a much bigger pot. And when I was young, in my teens, and I was collecting my cacti, I just had this thing that the bigger the pot, the faster it's going to grow. And I sort of learnt all my knowledge with cacti and succulents purely from mostly my own experience. The internet wasn't around when I was a teenager like it is today, so it's sort of trial and error. I would buy a cactus, say this size, from the garden centre, and pot it up probably in a pot this size without realising. And if you do that, you'll often get root rot, and I lost quite a few cacti as a teenager when I was growing up that way. Had to learn, but that's why you often hear me when I'm doing my repotting videos. I'll always say pot up just the next size up, and the reason for that is because of my own experience years ago when I used to pot them into bigger pots. So that's something I really wish I'd known before I started growing cacti. Just pot them up into the next size up, and don't go too big of a pot. Number 3 will be, I wish I knew not to trust the labels on the cacti at the garden centres. As I said, when I first started getting into cacti, I would just buy a cactus I liked, and it would often be labelled with whatever it was labelled as, and a lot of labels, even to this day now I see it, if they're labelled at all, are nearly always wrong. I've seen you know, mammillaria cacti, such as these here labelled as gymnocalcium or vice versa. And if you're new to growing cacti and you're not that knowledgeable, you would just don't take the label, what you see, as gospel. I did that at the beginning, and I sort of got mixed up with a few cacti when I was young and I was just starting out, and I would get things mixed up. So in other words, don't trust the labels that you have, and that's a bit of advice I can give. I wish I knew that before growing cacti. I often buy many, even cacti to this day, from a garden centre, and I know that it's labelled wrong because I would be pretty knowledgeable on the names of cacti. This is a perfect example. I see so many euphorbia, which are succulents, to this day labelled as cactus in the garden centres, and these are euphorbias here. They're not cacti, they're purely a succulent. All cacti are succulents, but not all succulents are cacti. And if you want to ID your cactus, you're not sure if the label is right, there's plenty of Facebook groups where you can share your photos of your new plants, and many experienced members will let you know on there what it could be. So do that. There's also a great app as well you can add to your phone called Plants app, and that also helps to correctly ID your cactus for you. The fourth thing I wish I knew before growing cacti is that not all cacti are desert dwellers. And when I first got into cacti in my teens, I would just be buying lots of cacti. I had, as I mentioned, on my bedroom windowsill and over my mum and dad's windowsills. And I would have Christmas cactus, such as these here. I would have them on a south-facing window with my desert dwellers. I just thought they all needed the same care. And I would wonder why my Christmas and Thanksgiving cacti would all start to go a bit yellow and washed out. I was thinking they're getting plenty of sun and I'm doing everything right, and I thought they had to go without water for long periods as well, like desert cacti. They don't. I learnt the hard way as a child, and now I know that obviously that there's many cacti that are epiphytic and love to have humidity and moisture regularly, unlike desert cacti. So I wish I knew that before I started to grow cacti, that not all cacti are desert dwellers. Now, number 5, with what I really wish I knew before growing cacti, and this is going to make you laugh, guys. I wish that I knew that had a warning that I was going to become an addict. I know, a cactus addict. And once you get hooked, excuse the pun, there is no stopping you. And what started out for me with just a few plants on my bedroom window as a child ended up into a massive obsession, as you can see. A very big cactus obsession. And you have to be prepared that you may start to have a huge collection. And I can honestly say, it doesn't matter how much space you have, there's never going to be enough room. I often joke, if I had a greenhouse the size of Kew Gardens, I would soon fill it, because it's an addiction. So you have to be prepared. I wish I knew that I was going to become addicted to growing these awesome plants. But you know what, guys? I really do hope that they never find a cure for this cactus addiction, because I love it. And it has just been the most amazing passion and hobby of my entire life. I love it so much. And let me know in the comments down below, guys, are you a cactus addict too? And if so, what got you hooked? Excuse the pun. And how does it affect you? Do you find that you run out of space and there's never enough space? But do you know what? I always say there's always room for one more or a few more. So I hope you enjoyed hearing about the 5 things I wish I knew before growing these amazing plants. And if you haven't done already, don't forget to subscribe. Do click the notification bell. You can follow me on Instagram, Twitter and Facebook at Desert Plants of Avalon. And do check out my website for more growing tips on growing cactus and succulents, desertplantsofavalon.com. I want to wish you all a fantastic cactus powered day.